Sorry, y'all. Oh, look at that. That even works out well. All right. Good morning. Happy Sunday. If you are catching this while I am doing it, we are here for another Akashic moment where I talk about all things Akashic Records. I am Dr. Latoya Davis, and today we are diving into reasons you may not be able to access your Akashic Records. Something is strange here. I feel like my camera is low. I don't know. I have still not figured out the best way that I like to actually show up on the YouTube live. So today I am not going through StreamYard. So we'll see. We'll see how this works if I like this. Um, so yeah, here we are. All right. So today I am going to share 5 common reasons why people struggle to access the Akashic Records. And past just telling you why people struggle, give some tips and insights on kind of how you can fix them. As always, here at the Akashic Moment, you are free to ask questions. It doesn't necessarily have to be about the topic that I'm talking about today. So if you have a question about the Akashic Records, something I've talked about in the past, or just something you've kind of stumbled across on your own journey, feel free to drop it in the chat. And while I am on the live, I will absolutely respond to your questions. All right. Also, if you are here, give me a thumbs up, like, subscribe, and share. I really appreciate it. All right. So, getting into today's topic, 5 common reasons why people struggle to access the Akashic Records. Now, I get a lot of I'm not getting anything, right? A lot of I tried, this isn't working, from various capacities, right? I get it in my DMs, I get it in text messages, I get it when we're in live classes, I get it from people who bought the book and who are trying to go through the process. And one of the things that I often bring people back to is, do you believe that you can access the records? Right? I know that really seems like a oversimplification or a kind of like a duh, like I'm doing the process, so why would I not believe it? But the reality is, if you think you can, right? If you think you can't, you can't. So part of the problem starts before we even get into trying to access the record, right? Before we do the step that will allow us to access the record. Part of the problem starts here with just our belief that we can actually do the thing. Okay. So doubt and overthinking is number one, is what I'm going to say is the number one reason why we struggle to access the Akashic Records. Um, excuse me, not trusting yourself. So when you don't trust yourself, that energy ripples through the process. All right. So one of the things that I suggest for that is, I'm big on energy, right? Energy follows intention. I say once you set the intention, we trust the energy to follow it through. So being really clear before you go in, take the moment, ground yourself, whatever that looks like for you, right? Give yourself a positive affirmation if you struggle with doubt or fear or overthinking, right? Give yourself a positive affirmation and sit in that moment for a minute before you try to access the records, right? I love to do what I'll call grounding, right? I love to do activities or kind of visualizations or intention setting where I send my fears or my doubts or things that are counter to the goal that I'm setting or the intention that I'm setting, where I kind of send them down into the ground, right? So that's my process. So whatever process feels natural for you, do something like that, right? So we want to address that energy of doubt. We want to address that energy of overthinking. Now, the next way that this, and it's probably like 1.5, right? Because it's still the same energy. This is just now you're in the record. So let's say you've done whatever process you're going to do to open the records. So just a quick recap, ways that we can access the Akashic Records through a prayer process, which is what I teach, right? The Akashic Key process, through meditation, through intention setting, um, and through some type of guided, journey process, right? Are the ways that we can enter into the records. So let's say you're in the records, but now you're in there and you're like, nothing is happening, right? So this is also doubt. This is also that energy of doubt, and overthinking is just showing up differently now, right? You can feel like you are just making up the information that is coming. This one is so prevalent, right? Feeling like you're making the information up. And then the last one here is I guess that's second guessing, right? Second guessing what you're feeling, or second guessing what you're getting and feeling like you're making it up. And then also I'm going to say being underwhelmed, kind of being underwhelmed by the way the information is coming. So that causes you to doubt it, right? They're not like going to be these, fireworks and these loud, explosive voices that sound differently or something like that, right? So then because of all of those things, then that pushes you further into the doubt and overthinking. So how can we fix this? One, simplest way, release expectation, right? Um, the reason those things are running through your mind is because you had an expectation on how you thought it was going to happen once you got in there, right? And that's natural. It's natural for us to create an expectation around something, but let it go, right? Let the expectation go. One of the things that I always talk about and teach, first thought is the right thought. So what that means is that what comes is the thing. And I remember I try to be mindful when I'm talking to people to not say, what do you see? But I did it the other day, and that's why this is kind of top of mind. Someone let me know that they were having problems accessing the Akashic Records, and was like, and I was like, well, tell me, what do you see? Right. And that instantly put them into the mind of, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to see? And I know the trauma or the struggle that comes from people saying, what do you see? Because when I first started kind of in this path and in this journey, I didn't see anything. Right. If you've read any of my stuff or you follow me, the way that I receive information is through something called claircognizance. And claircognizance is just a clear sense of knowing, right? And so when people would say, oh, I see this, or what do you see? It would cause me to doubt because I wasn't seeing anything. And so I try to be really mindful of that when I am helping and navigating people through. And that other day, the person, she was like, well, I didn't see anything. And so release the expectation and know that the way that you're going to receive information can be through a feeling, a knowing, an emotion, um, a hearing, a tasting, right? Or vision. So all of those things are valid. And whatever comes up is the thing. Okay. And then the other thing here is knowing that it's not going to be this long, drawn out paragraph or, expose, dissertation. It may simply be a word. It may simply be a feeling, particularly when you're first starting out, right? Because you're getting acclimated to the perception, you're getting acclimated to this energetic field and how information and stuff is coming. And so the mechanism, the language, I'm gonna say the shared language between you and being within the records hasn't fully developed. It's like being a baby, right? When you're a baby or you're watching babies communicate, those first few words are babbles, right? The baby doesn't start out giving you full sentences. Even the sentences sometimes that you get, or the words that you get, you're trying to figure out, okay, wait, what is that? Okay, wait a minute, say it again. Or they do some other type of gesture, and now you're able to put things together. And that's the same thing that's happening in the Akashic Records. And so I strongly suggest and urge that people get a journal, right? To kind of help document and track what's going on. Wait, wrong side. The mirroring, right? The Akashic Record Journal. It really is there to help you be able to put together the pieces so that you can track and figure out, how is this language coming to me? How am I able to decipher it and then make meaning from it? All right. I took a long time on number one. I'm going to go through these other ones a little bit faster. All right. And remember, if you're here, let me know you're here. If you have questions, feel free to drop the questions in the chat. Last time somebody waited until like I was getting off, and so the question didn't appear until after I had already ended the live. So if you have a question, don't hold on to it, right? Feel free to drop it in the chat. I will see it. I will go back and I will follow up. All right. So reason number 2, fear of what you might discover. I know, right? We don't think about that one, but that's a real one, right? The block is, this is one that people don't really talk about, but sometimes the real reason you can't access the records is because you're afraid of what you might find. So again, though, this goes back to kind of that pre-work that you have to do before you access the records. The free download that I created, the 3-day download, day 1 is all about mindset and preparing the mind. And I know people are like, well, that's not helping me access the records, but it absolutely is, right? The mindset of going into the records is a large part of your whole experience when you're in the records. So sometimes people have a fear of, it's like, you know how you do something and you know that you've done it, but then you go to like a spiritual reader or something, you're like, ooh, are they going to bring that up? Ooh, is that going to happen? Right. So then that creates this that creates this really irrational fear, because one, the records all past, present, future possibilities exist. So if you access it or not doesn't change the fact that the information is there. Right. If you receive it through this way or not doesn't change the fact that you know that you did the thing. All right. Also, in this is the fear of connecting with something that is big and powerful, right? Imagine your whole existence has been, you need to go to something that is outside of you in order to get this information, right? You have to go and pay somebody else to do this thing. You become dependent, or not even consciously dependent, right? You're just acting out the impulses in the ways that you've been taught and raised. And so now someone is like, but you too can access all of this information. And so it can create an internal fear that is not even recognized at the conscious level. And those things can impact how you are able to receive information. So how do we fix this one? All right. So I know I'm going to sound redundant, but we're going to set the intention, right? I cannot stress enough the importance of setting an intention. And then remind yourself in this intention that I always say the Akashic Records meet you where you are. So what do I mean by that? If you're afraid of some information that you want to find out, right? I get people that come to me sometimes and they are kind of looking for a particular past life thing, right? Or they've been having an urge or a sense that something has happened in the past life. But there's actually fear around them finding out that information. What happens in the Akashic Records is, if you are not ready for some information, you will not get it. So don't approach trying to access the records with the fear of, oh my gosh, I might find out something that is going to be completely life shattering. It's not. Okay. They meet you where you are, and what they give you is going to always be in alignment for your best and highest good. And it's going to come through with love and guidance. So set your intention that, one, it is safe for me to access this record. It is safe for me to access the Akashic Records. 2, I have the power and the ability to access the Akashic Records. And everything that I get while I'm in here is going to be for my best and highest good. All right. So that is how we overcome block number 2, what you might discover. Block number 3, energetic blocks that exist from past lives or past traumas. That is an absolutely real thing. So I never discount when someone is like, I can't get in. I can't get in, right? Because although it's still here, right? Although it's still here, there can absolutely be some type of vow or contract or agreement or some type of energetic imprint from a past experience that is impeding how you are able to access the records. What do I mean by this? I'll give an example. This actually happened in one of my live classes. So in my live classes, it's very interactive, right? So we're going back and forth, helping people navigate. And I like to say that we've never ended a live cohort and I didn't have someone who accessed their records. There was one person, though. There was one person. On the first day, she was like, she didn't get anything. She couldn't get anything. The first day, I'm really trying to just encourage you to get through whatever so you can figure it out. Came back the second day and she was like, nope, I still don't have anything. Asked a few questions and my spirit was like, pull her to a private breakout room. So I pulled her into a private breakout room and she absolutely she had created a past life vow that basically disconnected her from her ability to tap into this higher sense of, or this higher source of knowledge and information. Why did she do this? She had been persecuted in this. I don't remember all of the details, so I don't want to be too extensive in the story because then I'll start lying and making up the details. But I remember that she had been persecuted in some previous life. And the trauma and the persecution had to do with her tapping into kind of higher realms of information and knowledge. And so she, at soul level, not in her physical self, right? But at soul level, created the protection of, don't want to go through that again. Nope, not doing that again. So in this life, she was literally living out the agreement that soul self in that past life had made, which was shielding her at soul level. Her soul was like, nope, I'm protecting you because the last time we did something like this ain't in too well, right? So sometimes those types of energetic blocks or trauma, particularly also ancestral trauma, right? If you come from a lineage that has had persecutions or traumas or injustice is the best word that I can come up with, right? Due to your ability or your family's ability to kind of access this type of information, there can be some type of kind of epigenetic stirring when you try to go in and access these things. All right. So, ways that we can clear this. One, sometimes when that happens, you do need to get a little bit of outside help, depending on how good you are at restructuring and kind of clearing things on your own, right? If you know that that's like, wait, I'm not really good at that, you might need to seek some outside help. Now, don't use this as a crutch. Don't be like, oh, I can't access it. It must be a past life energetic block. No. The rarity of that, right? That is the exception and not the standard. Okay. But ways that we can resolve this. What am I going to say first, y'all? We're going to set the intention, right? We're going to set the intention. We're going to fall back into knowing that the Akashic Records are safe, right? And in this lifetime, in 2025, in this incarnation, that accessing this information is safe for us. And so what you have to do is tell yourself, you can tap into, I'm going down a whole nother rabbit hole right here, but you can tap into or give confirmation to the highest aspect of yourself, right? To the past life version of yourself. You don't even have to know what the past life version of yourself is, right? You can just create some type of statement, some type of affirmative statement that negates whatever the feeling is that you're getting. Right? Because you can just say, why am I not able to access the Akashic Records? And then trust, first thought is the right thought, right? Trust what comes up to be accurate and true, and then follow that thing through to its conclusion. All right. So if you're feeling like there's an energetic block that's coming from this past life or an ancestral trauma, the way that you can remove and start to work through and resolve this one is by simply, again, tapping into yourself. You can know this could be like, I'm connecting with the past life version of myself. that is causing me to not be able to access this in this moment, right? I'm accessing that ancestral energetic imprint within me that is causing me to not be able to access this in this moment. And then give reasons. This is safe. I know that this is safe. I know that the information that's going to come to me is accurate and true, is going to be in alignment with my best and highest. So basically, you just want to affirm the positive. Okay. Go back to that step. Go back to that thing I gave in step 1. Grounding yourself in the moment, sending those energies and fears down, or wherever you do yours. Again, I send mine down into the earth, right? So releasing those things, setting your intention, knowing that what's coming is going to be accurate and true, and now moving forward in that. Okay. You can use an affirmation like, I am safe to receive information. I am worthy of divine insight. Worth. Oh my gosh. We're not gonna even get into that, right? There are ways to actually clear those past life things, but if you don't know how to access your record, then me telling you how to clear the stuff in your record is, it don't work. I see your question. I'm gonna go through this. No, let me go. Let me go through these and then I'll come to the questions. All right. So, and while you're here, go ahead and put a thumbs up for me. Love you. Thank you. The next one is, I have my notes, y'all, because I could be all over the place here. The next one is trying too hard and not surrendering. I know. So the Akashic Records are a place for flow and not force. And what do I mean by trying too hard? Forcing the experience, right? And similar to what I said, expecting an immediate or this grand thing. That really is the big one. People be expecting this grand thing, and it's not that. It is subtle. It can't, let me check. It can be so subtle, right? And then getting frustrated if nothing happens right away, and then giving up. Working in the Akashic Records is a relationship, right? And so going back to that example of the baby doesn't stop because the first time nobody understood what it said, right? Not giving up is probably the key. Probably the key in all of it. Not giving up, right? Going back and trying it again. Being patient and giving yourself grace. Okay? And just letting go of expectations. And then the last one is not asking the right questions. Oh my gosh. I say the question determines the answer, right? Every single time the question determines the answer. So sometimes what's happening is you're not getting the answer that you want. So you think that you're not getting an answer. Again, whole other topic, right? And then sometimes it's the way that you're phrasing the question makes it difficult to answer the question. So sometimes we can lump multiple questions together, right? And that creates this ambiguity that becomes really, really difficult to get an answer for. Sometimes the question is bigger than we are able to receive the answer to. Remember, I said the Akashic Records isn't going to give you an answer to something that you're not ready yet to receive, right? Or that you don't really have the capacity to kind of integrate and take in that knowledge. So if the question that I'm seeking the answer to is so, it could be damaging. The answer could be damaging. I could just not be ready for it. You could also not receive it. So sometimes the simplest way is to rephrase the question or to ask a different question or to say, am I ready to get the information from this particular question, right? So sometimes it's the question. And so if you feel like you're in your records and you're not getting answers, ask a different question and see if you still feel that same way. Right? Or is it just that question? And if it's that question, then you know that you need to work on the nuance of the particular question that you're asking or the energy around the question that you're asking. All right. So I'm going to come over here to the chat. Before I come to the chat, just letting you all know, I am having another virtual live Akashic Record class happening March 29th and 30th. The registration link is in the description. If you have taken Akashic Records class with me before, I always offer a refresher price. So the refresher price is always substantially less than the cost of the class. I've sent out the emails if you're on my email list, but if for whatever reason you would like to take the refresher class and you haven't gotten the email, just send me an email and I will send you the link for the refresher class, right? So the refresher class is only $99 for that. All right, so Cameron, hey Cameron, nice to see you or have you here. So Cameron says, my experience with the records has been profound. Thank you very much for doing this work. It has led me to consider myself and my soul across all time and space. Thank you. I think Cameron was in like my first or second, like when I started teaching these classes live. So thank you so much. A lot of time I feel in life when we experience hesitation or even a push towards a decision, I feel that it is regret or encouragement coming from our future selves. Ooh, I like that. If I'm able to send messages to my past self, how do I make those messages to myself clearer? Yes. So sending messages to your past self. If you're in the Akashic Records, well, I'm going to do two versions. I'm going to do in the Akashic Records and I'm going to do it outside of the Akashic Records. All right. So if you were in the Akashic Records, y'all, my eyes are so puffy. Focus. If you were in the Akashic Records and you want to send a message to your past self, simply if you're able to access like what past life version of that self is. So let's say I'm working through something and I've already identified that this is the past life version of me that was 5 lifetimes ago. I was a Persian king. I don't know, right? I was a Persian king. So that is the version. I'm clear that that is the version of me that I am talking to. So what I would do in that instance is bring that version, bring that image and that version of myself up in my mind's eye, right? I would allow whatever details and information that I have from that past life version of myself to kind of enter into my mental knowing, right? And when I am doing work with the past version, I operate in the space of being clear that that is so, like, I'm not talking to myself like as the past version of myself. I'm very clear that I am talking to the past energy of that version, right? So I've identified the version is there. I see it. Great. I'm going to just say thank you. Always start with gratitude, right? So thank you so much for the choices that you made in that lifetime or the circumstances or the whatever. Like, we start with thanks. You express how whatever the issue is that you're holding on to from there is impacting you now. So start with thanks, tap into what's happening now, state what you want to happen now, and then release or cancel anything that is causing conflict with the then and the now. Okay, I hope that makes sense. If you cannot access your Akashic Records or you don't access your Akashic Records, you can still do this same type of thing just in your normal outside of the records, right? So you would just simply, again, access the, you could just say something like, I would like to access the past life version of myself that resonates with, insert whatever this thing is, that resonates with poverty, that resonates with unhealthy relationships, right? So you don't sometimes have to be specific. You can just bring the energy of the thing in that you want. When you access that or when you state that, then you would just kind of go through the same process, right? And say, thank you. Always start with gratitude. Always start with gratitude. Thank you. I understand. Yes, amazing. But this is how this is impacting me right now. This is where I would like to be. As a result, this is what we're doing. We're canceling, we're clearing, we're releasing, we're whatever it is. Okay. So I hope that that answered your question. I hope that that answered your question. I feel like if I didn't answer your question specifically, drop it or clarify it in the chat and I will come back to it. One of the other things that you can do, this is again bigger because I was about to go into some timeline stuff. I'm going to save that. I'm going to save that. But again, if you are here watching me, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So just to quick recap, the 5 reasons that we most commonly have problems accessing our Akashic records: doubt and overthinking, fear of what we might discover, energetic blocks from past lives or ancestral trauma, trying too hard and not surrendering, and not asking the right questions. Okay. Although I gave steps under each of those, if I had to put it into one, like, what's the solution? Set your intention. Trust that I am safe to receive wisdom. I am worthy of divine insight. Release expectations. And just know that the information might come as little droplets and nuggets, right? Think of it like a relationship with the baby, and that baby trying to learn to communicate, and the parents learning how to receive the communication from that parent. Okay. Journal your experiences so that you can always kind of go back and track and start to make connections. Yes, I understand it. Yes, I see it. Right. And register for a class. All right. So again, I will be teaching how to access your Akashic Records 101, March 29th and 30th. The link is in the description. Also have books to help you on your journey. Like, subscribe, and share. I have my goal to get to 500 subscribers by the end of the month. So help me out, y'all. Until next time. You deserve to live a life that lights you up from the inside out. Stay aligned, liberated, and abundant. Peace.